Sriman Venkatanatharya Kavitarkika Kesari Vedantacharya Varyome Sannidhattam Sadahridi Santasriranga Prithvisha Charanatrana Shekharaha Jayanti Bhamanatrana Padapankajane Namaha. In the last two sessions, we are seeing the verses from the Prastava Paddhati, chapter number 1. And I missed yesterday the 4th verse. So we will take it up today and go to 6. And now look at the slide here where the titles are of Sri Vedantadeshika are given. And the two terms, Kavitarkika Kesari and Kavitarkika Simhaha, have been formed by his own son, Nayanaracharya, otherwise called Kumara Vardacharya. And whenever we recite the stotras of Sri Vedantadeshika, we used to say first Sriman Venkatanatharya and then end the stotra with Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gudashalini. We will be observing this in the session, in all the sessions every day. So here, we go to the next part, some of the works of Sri Vedantadeshika. So before looking at the works of Vedantadeshika, I wanted to tell you that he was challenged to build a well with irregular shaped stones. And today, even today, you can see the well, constructed well by Sri Vedantadeshika. Because he was called Sarvatantra Swatantra, he was supposed to know all arts. He must have been master of all arts. And therefore, in Tiruvahindrapuram, a Divya Kshetram, near Kadalur of Tamil Nadu, you can still witness the well which has water now. So this is one of the achievements which are miracles that we understand from his biography. So we will take up the next, after the list of the works here. It is inexhaustive. And we are going to the 4th verse straight away. And then, now this has got the same connection with the 5th also, which we dealt with yesterday. Now let me read this. Divyasthana Tvamiva Jagatim Paduke Gahamana Padanyasam Prathamamanagha Bharati Yatra Chakre Yogakshemam Sakala Jagatam Tvayadhinam Sajanane Vacham Divyam Dishatu Vasudha Shrotra Janma Munirme. So please note, as I said in the earlier session, that Vedantadeshika talks to these divine sandals of Sri Ranganatha of Sri Rangam, and they are in flesh and blood according to the bhakti, devotion of Sri Vedantadeshika. And he talks to the divine sandals like this. Tvam, you, Gahamana, you came to. Simple meaning, came to. Where did you come to? Jagatim Gahamana. You have come to this world. Where from? Divyasthanat. From Sri Vaikuntham. From Paramapadam. We call it in Tamil Kalanga Perunahar, Thirunarayanan in Tamil. And it is the ideal world of the Lord Sriman Narayana. So he addresses, Vedantadeshika addresses the divine sandals. Hey Paduke, Tvam Gahamana Jagatim Divyasthana. Now this is in comparison with a parallel here. We are talking about the goddess of education, Saraswati, goddess of wisdom, goddess of knowledge. She is denoted by the word Bharati. Bharati is another name for the Sanskrit language that we are all studying. So what did she do? So with the blessing of her husband, Brahma, the creator, the god of creation, so she came to the tongue of Valmiki. So yatra where Bharati Padanyasam Chakre. We used to say when somebody is eloquent, then we say goddess of education is dancing on the tongue of the orator. So Padanyasam. So she made a first step. Prathamam Padanyasam. She made a first step. She made the first entry. Faultless, Anagha. The Sanskrit knowledge of Sri Vedantadeshika is impeccable, without errors. So she made the first footstep on the tongue. Where? So, Vasudha Srotra Janma Munihi. Look at the last pada here, last quarter. Vasudha is the earth, the goddess of earth. Shrotra is the ear. Karnaha, as we say in Sanskrit. Janma is one who is born as the ear of the earth. And that was Valmiki. So Vasudha Shrotra Janma Munirme. How do you call Valmiki as the ear of the earth? We have a concept that the earth's ear, this world's ear, is ant hill. Because he came out of the ant hill, Valmikat. Therefore, he is called Valmiki. It's a nickname, and he is called Vasudha Shrotra Janma. So, such a great sage who happens to be the incarnation of the ear of the earth. And now Vedantadeshika prays for blessings from Valmiki. And in turn, he prays to the goddess of education to bless him with knowledge of describing in 1008 verses the greatness of the divine sandals of Sri Ranganath. Now, so how knowledgeable is Valmiki? So he knew. So Saha Janan, the third pada you find the word Saha Janan. He knew that Paduka is more powerful than any object. The highest power is rested with Paduka, the divine sandals. So it has the Paduka, the sandals have the control of all the worlds. Sakala Jagatam. Tvai Adhinam. So the Paduka, the sandals have the control over all the worlds. Suppose you say 14 worlds, all the world. That means the universe. The whole universe of creation. So Tvai Adhinam. What for the sandals have the control over all the worlds? Yogakshemam. These two words are famous in Bhagavad Gita, as you know. Yoga is getting a fortune, and Kshemam is maintaining that prosperity. So yoga is a sudden gift on the world, and then Kshemam is the sustenance of the gift on the world. So yoga Kshemam Sakala Jagatam Tvayadhinam Sa Janan. Valmiki knew very well that Paduka has the control over all the worlds for the welfare of the world. So what should he do? Vacham Divyam Me Dishatu. Let him give me the divine words, divine description of the sandals for 1008 verses of Sri Padukasahasram. So let me have the direction, let me have the guidance from the sage Valmiki, who is called the ear of the earth, because he came out of the ant hill, and therefore let me worship Valmiki. So as you understand, the first verse of Padukasahasram told us about the greatness of the priests who could perform aradhanam, the puja, the worship at the temple of Ranganatha, and they are equally powerful in blessing this world, just as the sandals, divine sandals of Ranganatha. The divine sandals of Ranganatha assure the safety of the world. And then the second verse, Vedantadeshika saluted Bharata, the younger brother of Sri Rama, and again Bharata, the Natham name of in the name of Nathamuni, we have a preceptor for Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, and he has been bowed by Sri Vedantadeshika in the second verse. Now, the greatness of Bharata is that he rejected the kingdom with all its riches, and then followed a life of a sage in the city. And therefore, so Bharataya Param Namostu Tasmai. So again, in the third verse, so we saw that Vedantadeshika bowed to, saluted Nammalvar, Bakula Bhushana, Varnastome Bakula Sumano, Vasana Muddhahanti. And also in turn, indirectly, the scriptures. The scripture is a goddess if you call it Shruti. It is a god if you call it Vedaha. And if it is Brahman, it is what we call Shabda Brahman, if you call it Amnayaha or Chandas. So you have the salutation of Vedantadeshika went to the brother of Rama, namely Bharata, Nathamuni, the preceptor of Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, and the scriptures. Now you find the fourth verse that Vedantadeshika talks to the sandals. So just like you came to the earth for blessing the world, goddess of education also came to the tongue of Valmiki. And therefore, since Valmiki understood by the grace of the goddess of knowledge that the control over the welfare of the world is in the hands of the sandals, divine sandals of Ranganatha, may Valmiki give me the knowledge to compose 1008 verses. Now, we will go to the sixth one as we. Now, this is only a notes as you see here. So, Brahma said to Valmiki like this. Now, there is an incident behind this words. Having been permitted by the husband, the goddess of education, blessed Valmiki with eloquence in words. 24,000 shlokas now we find in Srimad Ramayanam, and therefore Brahma said to, the Lord Creator said to Valmiki, Machchanda te Brahman pravarteyam saraswati. Now you have a partial presentation of what Alavandar, in Tamil called Alavandar, and he is called Yamunacharya, the next preceptor to Nathamuni, said about the divine sandals. The divine sandals are adorning the head of the scriptures. So, Shruti Shirasu Sabhati Yan Murdhini. These are the words that you find in a book called Stotra Ratnam, composed by Yamunacharya, otherwise called Alavandar in Tamil. And then we have the support from the previous preceptor for Vedantadeshika to say that the divine sandals are respected by scriptural sentences contained in the Upanishads. Now, as we saw this one, So we had again the respect of Vedantadeshika to Valmiki, because here only we saw that Nigamottamange Tunge api yan nimishate. Namely, in the second pada, that you understand the divine sandals are placed with a high respect over the Upanishads of the scriptures. And therefore, there is no difference between me now, though I am a lowly person, that Shatari, the Shatakobam, is placed on my head by the priests of Ranganatha temple. And since Valmiki sang about, thank you very much, Dhanyavadaha. Now, so the song, namely 24,000 shloka strong song, namely Srimad Ramayana, being called Adi Kavyam, the first ornate poetry in Sanskrit, and Valmiki being called the first poet, Adi Kavi. Now, Vedantadeshika takes the guts to praise to the sky the pair of sandals, Rangapati Padukayoho Yugam Tatu. That's what we saw in the last session. Now we go to number 6. Dhatte Mukunda Manipadukayor Nimeshat Valmika Sambhavagira Samatam Mukti Ganga Pravaka Paditasya Kiya Nivasyat Rakshodakasya Yamuna Salilat Visheshakha. Now, having worshipped Nammalvar, Vakula Bhushana, Dravida Vedasagara in the third verse, in the fourth and fifth verse, Vedantadeshika worshipped Valmiki, and then now he is confident that his words are as good as Valmiki's. So he says, Mama Uktihi, in the second pada, the second quarter, you understand, Mama Uktihi, my words, Samatam Dhatte, become equal to. How? Because my words talk about the divine sandals of Ranganatha, which are gemmed, Manipadukayoho. The sandals of Ranganatha are made up of gems, or inlaid with gems, or embedded with gems. So whose sandals? Mukunda Manipadukayo. So the word Mukunda is significant, and Lord Ranganatha expects the devotees to come and worship him at the sanctum sanctum of Sri Ranganatha. And so Mukunda Manipadukayoho Nimeshat. So what happens to my words? My words have become equal to Valmika Sambhava Gira. Valmikam anthill, Sambhavam birth, Gira the words. So with the words of Valmiki, so my words are also equal to his. Now how do you call, O Vedantadeshika, that your words are equal to Valmiki's words? Are they so valuable as the words of Valmiki? If you ask a question, he has an answer. So there is an analogy. There is what we call an alankara, very beautiful figure of speech. And we have the meaning like this. Now, many of you would have known, would have visited Triveni Sangamam in Allahabad. So as you go and have a darshan of the three rivers coming together, the ethereal Ganges, Mandakini coming to the earth as Ganga, and then she becomes Bhagirathi, and finally she becomes Patala Ganga. Even today, the sacred nature of the river cannot be understood by scientists, that because of the herbs available in the Himalayas, the entire river flowing on the mountains can be unpolluted. So whatever be the pollution that attacks Ganga, Ganga solves the problem of pollution. And therefore, it is considered the most sacred river of India, rivers of India. And therefore, so in the flood of Ganga, Pravaha, the river Yamuna also joins. So Yamuna Salilat Visheshaha, last father. Yamuna Salilat. Salilam, as you know, water. So Yamuna Salilam is water of the Yamuna river. Visheshaha, difference. Vishesha is speciality, as we understand easily, but here it is difference. So distinction. So Yamuna Salilat Visheshaha. There is no distinction, because he is asking a question. Is there any distinction between the Yamuna waters joining Ganges like my joining Valmiki in the valuable words? So he is asking the question, Kiyani Vasyat. So what will be the difference between the Yamuna and the Ganga when a third river called Saraswati, invisible, joins? Now, Vedantadeshika indirectly refers to the river Saraswati, which is under the ground, and it is invisible, as all of you know. And though it is, the place is called Triveni Sangam, otherwise called Prayag in Allahabad. So now he compares himself, as he said earlier, Nichepi hantamamurdhani nirvishesham. We saw that Vedantadeshika said, Nichepi, though I am a lowly person, I am a low person, I am not a good person. But now he compares his own words as Ratchodakaha. So the water of the road flowing after the rain. So the rain came and went off. So after that, you find a lot of water is flowing on the road. So the water flowing on the road joins a holy river like Ganges or Yamuna joining the river. So Yamuna, the black river, Ganga, the white river, with the polluted river of the road. So he says, this is what we call Naichyanusandhanam in Sanskrit, as we understand, that all poets do this in the beginning of their works. So let us not assess Vedantadeshika saying that because he said he is a bad man to himself, so let us not call him a bad poet. So he says, any water on the road joining the Ganges river or the Yamuna river will become equally holy. We cannot identify the difference between the road water and the holy water of both Ganga and Ganges and Yamuna. This Yamuna has got a beautiful value because Lord Krishna played there and he was doing pranks in the water. And he also controlled the snake called Kaliyan. And he danced on the serpent, Kaliya Nardhanam. And therefore, you know about Sri Goda Devi, called the Andal in Tamil, otherwise called Neela Devi in scriptures. We have a very short portion of scriptures on Andal, that is Neela Devi, otherwise called Goda Devi. I can tell you very fast, Grina, he Gritavati Savidharadhipatte Payaswati Rantirajanustu Dhruvadisham Vishtu Patniya Ghora Asyeshana Sagadoya Manota Brigaspatirmata Rishvota Vayu Sandhuvana Bata Bhino Grinantu Vishtambo Divo Dharuna Prithivya Asyeshana Jagato Vishnu Patni. This is a very short portion, rather shortest portion in scriptures, to tell you about the greatness of Goda Devi. And we end it with Om Mahadevi Ja Vidmahe Vishnu Patni Ja Dhimahi Tanno Neela Prachodayat. So she is called Neela Devi. And how do you understand her nature? She represents the grains that grow on earth. So we have, Mahalakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the Bhuma Devi, the goddess of earth, and the fertile land on earth, namely Niladevi. The goddess of the fertile land is called Niladevi. So you find that. So Andal, Bhuma Devi became Andal in Kali Yuga, whereas Bhuma Devi was the wife of Varaha incarnation long back. And then she asked a question to Lord Varaha Murthy, Bhuvaraha Murthy. Why not I try to protect the devotees of the earth by myself? So Varaha Avtara, Lord Srimanarayana, in the incarnation of the great boar, permitted Andal Goda Devi to be born as the foster daughter, FOSTR, of Periyalvar, what we call Vishnu Chittaha, one of the 12 apostles of the Sri Vaishnava philosophy. And then so she sang 170 143 plus 30, so 173 Tamil songs among the 4,000 Divya Prabandhas. 143 Raittal Valiye is her Vali Thirunamam. We adore her with this line, plus 30 Tirupava. So in the Tirupava, in the fifth one, she said, Mayanai Mannu Vada Madhurai Maindhanai Tuya Perunir Yamunai Turaivanai. This is called Shri Raga in Carnatic music. One of the 5 Ghana Ragas which are popular in Carnatic musical world. And then in this particular fifth song of Tirupavai, we call it Sri Prabandhaha in Sanskrit. He says, she says that Yamunai Turaimani. She called Lord Krishna as the Lord of the Yamuna river. And then the next word is Tuya Pernir Yamunai. Tuya Pernir Yamunai. Of course, it is not a wonder to see that the rivers contain water, neer. Perunir, flooding river, Yamuna. Tuya Perunir, it became holy. It became pure. Why? So many rivers are there, holy rivers of India, but what is the speciality of Yamuna river? You must know that at 12 midnight in Rohini star, under Ashtami Tithi, Lord Krishna incarnated as a child of Devaki and Vasudeva. And the very night, Vasudeva had to take the child, the newborn child, to Gokulam to be brought up by Nanda, Gopa and Yashoda. And without the knowledge of Kamsa, the demon, being the very uncle of Lord Krishna, the child was taken across the river Yamuna. The Yamuna river gave the path without affecting the Lord by the flooding waters. And therefore, so Adishesha was the umbrella as it was raining to prevent the drops of water falling on Lord Krishna, the child. And these are all the incidents that you know from Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Avatar. So here Yamuna is called Tuya Perinir Yamunai. So that kind of speciality value is not there with all other rivers. And therefore, so now Vedantadeshika is asking, so my words will be equal to the words of Valmiki, just like the road water, when combined with Yamuna and Ganges, will be identified as holy waters. So let's go to the 7th one. So you all can reserve your questions at the end as instructed by Vyoma Linguistics Lab Foundation panelists. Now you have been seeing the word I remind you, Nietzsche. So I am a lowly person. Now, Vedantadeshika expresses a fear, a small fear. I don't say great fear. It's not a morbid fear. It's a small fear. So he is getting afraid of composing 1008 verses before the next morning. So he says, I submit Vijñāpayāmi kimapi pratipanna bhītihi prāge varangapati vibhrama paduke tvam yantum kshama sadasati vigadabhyasūyāha santas prushantu sadayai hridayai stutim te. So he says, I submit Vijñāpayāmi. I submit with a lot of humility. I modestly submit Vijñāpayāmi. Kimapi, something in the sense 1008 verses is not something, but a very great, indescribably very great, unimaginably very great work called the Padukasahasram. But I have a little fear in my mind. Pratipanna bhītihi. You have heard of characters in Mahabharata like Bhishma. The younger brother of Ravana is Vibhishana. You know the Pandava brothers, one of them called Bhima. So B, the very single letter of Sanskrit means fear. So Pratipanna Bhītihi. So with a small fear here, now here Vedantadeshika addresses the sandals again. Please note, please remember, in all the 1008 verses of Padukasahasram, Vedantadeshika talks to the sandals. That you please remember. So this is how we must feel that the Lord, the divine figure, divine auspicious figure in every temple is a real God, and it is not made out of metal, made out of calcium, made out of mud, made out of stone, and so on. So please remember, Lord can talk to us and we can converse with him. So now he refers to, Vedantadeshika refers to, we are going to experience the divine sports of Sri Ranganatha here. So Ranganatha is traveling around the city, the town Srirangam, and recently he went to some villages also called Jiyapuram, Andanallur. Then he went to Urayur day before yesterday. And therefore, he has been blessing the people by going to their place. And therefore, he is called a Nam Perumal. He is our God. It is not somebody else's God, he is our God. So what is he doing? So he is moving around Srirangam. So who helps the divine sandals? Rangapati. Rangapati is Ranganatha, as you understand. So Vibhrama Paduke, the sandals are helping him to walk without difficulty. No thorn will prick the divine feet of the Lord. No up and downs of the road will affect the gait of the Lord. As you understand in Srirangam, this is very famous kshetram for the gait, G-A-I-T, the walking style of Sri Ranganatha. We have different walking styles. And if you have not visited Srirangam to worship the different gates of Sri Ranganatha, you are most welcome, because you have got different styles. As the lion walks, Simhagati. As the elephant walks, Gajagati. As the serpent moves, Sarpagati. As the animal walks, Yaligati. And as he travels in a chariot, and he can go fast, Tvaritagati. He can go slow, Mandagati. So we say in Tamil, Nadai. Nadai is what we call the walking style of Sri Ranganatha. Now, the divine sandals have tension. As we feel restless, in our life. Sometimes the divine sandals are also restless because the sandals must be careful in protecting the divine feet of Sri Ranganatha, and therefore he is trying to help the divine feet of the Lord not to be injured at any time. Now, having got some fear in the mind, Vedantadeshika says, so he appeals to the people around him not to be jealous. So you know that there are 6 enemies in our own body, namely Kamaha, Krodhaha. Kamaha is uncouth desire, unwanted desire. Krodhaha, fury, extreme anger. Lobhaha, greed, some inclination to grab something. Mohaha, confusion. Madaha, pride, haughtiness, insolence. Ahankara, and lastly, jealousy. Matsaryam. So, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsaryam. So, all these 6 enemies must be avoided by us in life. So, Vedantadeshika prays to Goddess Ranganayika that these 6 enemies should go away. Urikatum Kushalam Akhilam Jetum Adin Aratin. These are all primordial enemies, 6 enemies in our own body, and they must be rejected. So, Jetum, we must win over them. We must defeat those 6 bad qualities. And therefore, so now he requests all the people around. The people around are good people. The people around, especially in the sanctum sanctorum, are the priests, Santaha, Santastriranga Prithvisha. So Santaha, good people. So good people will not have jealousy. So still, there are some people who they might think of Vedantadeshika as their opponent. So sometimes a speck of jealousy may crop up in their mind. So he says, he requests the good people to say, Bigada Abhyasuyaha. Asuya is jealousy. Matsaryam is jealousy. Irshya is jealousy in Sanskrit. Abhyasuyaha, high jealousy. Vigata Abhyasuyaha. The good people should not have any jealousy that because I am writing 1008 verses, because I am going to win the first prize. Why should they find fault with Vedantadeshika's Padukasahasram? Because they know Sat Asati, Satasati Vigata. They know how to distinguish between the good and bad words in a poem. Therefore, Vyantum, to understand, Chamaha, they are capable. The word Chamaha means capability. So Chamaha, so people are capable of understanding the good and bad of words. So let them be without jealousy. And what should they do? So Te Stutim, I am adoring you, all divine sandals. So Te Stutim, your praise, your adoration, your eulogy, they must touch Sprishantu, Sadayaihi, Hridayaihi. So in their heart of hearts, they must understand the praise of the divine sandals by me in the Padukasahasram and look at it with compassion towards me. Sadayaihi, Hridayaihi. So you find that beautiful meaning that, so while he was Vedantadeshika worshipped previously Nammalvar, Sriman Nathamuni, Yamunacharya indirectly by saying the word Yamuna Salilat Visheshaha. Then again here, now he requests the people around him not to find fault with his Padukasahasram. In fact, they are required to have a positive outlook on Padukasahasram and no biased opinion about Sri Vedantadeshika. So here, So we will go to, if time permits, Ashraddha dhanamapi nanvadhuna swakiye stotre niyojesi mam manipaduke tvam deva pramanamiha rangapatis tathatre tasyaiva devi padapankajayot yathatvam. So one thing that I must say about verse number 7. So Mukunda Manipaduke that we saw earlier, Mukunda Manipaduke. Dhatte Mukunda Manipadukayor Niveshat, we saw in the first pada. So Mukunda, the word Mukunda has got a significant meaning, namely, it is called one of the 9 treasures of the king of wealth, the god of wealth, namely Kubera. You would have heard about Kubera, the god, who had a flight called Pushpaka Vimanam, his own flight, and it was hijacked by his brother, namely Ravana, and then it was returned back by Rama, duly, after they reached Ayodhya, back from Sri Lanka. So Vedantadeshika mentions this fact in the 91st line of his prose work, beautiful prose work called Raghuvira Gadyam. Gadyam, as you know, prose, Padyam is poetry, Padukasahasram is Padyam, and Gadyam is prose. So Raghuvira Gadyam, Rama's Stotram. So the entire Ramayana of 24,000 slokas have been condensed into 91 just prose lines. Very difficult to memorize, but very easy to read. A very short or brief summary of the whole Ramayana. And you can find a sample here. If you know how to read 68 cantos of Sundarakanda, we just have a single line in Raghuvira Gadyam, otherwise titled Mahavira Vaibhavam. If you search for Raghuvira Gadyam, if you don't find, you write Mahavira Vaibhavam, you can read just 91 lines in what you call Prisi writing of the whole Ramayana. So here, so Kubera has Navanidhis, 9 treasures, and one of them is called Mukunda. And therefore, so who is the treasure for all of us? Lord Sri Ranganatha is the treasure for all of us. Mukunda. And therefore his very sandals are made up of gems, money. Mukunda Mani Padukayo. So here we are going to 8. So Ashraddha Dhanam. Now again, please remember that Vedantadeshika lawyers himself that Lord knows everything about his own bad quality, namely, he is disinterested. Can we say that Vedantadeshika is disinterested in Paduka, divine sandal, after writing 1008 verses? No, not at all. We cannot judge Vedantadeshika's indifference, reluctance to the divine sandals of Ranganatha. So, Ashraddha Dhanamapi, he is saying, Shraddha, interest, Shraddha, faith, Ashraddha Dhanamapi. Though I am not interested, though I have indifference towards this Paduka, Nanu, indeed, Adhuna, now, Swakiye Stotre. So I take pride in my writing my poem, and the poem is about you. So Stotre, Tvam Niyojayasi. It is not that I make the efforts in writing the poem of 1008 verses, but you direct me, you order me, you gave instructions to me that I must write. Hey Manipaduke, O gemmed sandals, Tvam, you, mom, me, Stotre, in writing the praise, Niyojayasi, direct. So it is you who blesses me to write the poem with a lot of knowledge. And then, what is the proof? You are now asking. We are all asking Vedantadeshika. How do you understand that for the sandals, divine sandals, permitted you and encouraged you to write the 1008 verses of Padukasahasram. Deva Pramanamiha. Lord Ranganatha is the proof. Lord Ranganatha is my proof. Iha here, Pramanam authority, proof, Devaha. Who is that Devaha? Rangapatihi. Lord Ranganatha is the God who is the proof for my writing a poem of 1008 verses with the blessings of Lord's divine sandals. Tathatve. So in the same manner, so hey Devi, now you please understand, in the 1008 verses of Sri Padukasahasram, Vedantadeshika addresses, calls the divine sandals in different terms. Now you find, so when Lord is the authority, Lord is the proof, then Goddess must be the proof. When he is addressing, now calling with Sambodhana Prastava Paddhati in vocative case, or you say vocative case, Devi. Hey Devi, O Goddess Paduka. So join with the word Mani Paduka in the second pada. So Mani Paduke, Hey Devi, Tasyaiva Padapankajayor Yathatvam. So how do you understand that the divine sandals blessed Vedantadeshika as Ranganatha blessed Vedantadeshika with the title Sarvatantra Swatantra and Vedantacharya along with his wife Mahalakshmi? In the same way, O Goddess Paduke, O Goddess, namely sandals, the divine feet of Ranganatha also blessed me. Pada Pankajayo. Pada, we already saw the meaning. Pada means foot, the divine foot. Pankaja, the lotus-like foot. Bright, beautiful, tender, and cool. So, Pada Pankajayor Yathatvam, as you blessed me to write this Padukasahasram, the divine feet of the Lord, which are carried by you, especially. We saw the word Vibhrama Paduke, Rangapati Vibhrama Paduke, we saw in the previous verse. Just like you blessed me to write the poem of 1008, whereas Lord Ranganatha's divine feet also blessed me. You are the first proof, and his divine feet are the second proof for my eligibility and ability to write or compose and to bless the people of the world. Now, who else? We. So we are blessed now by Vedantadeshika's knowledge. And now we over to you for questions. Before that, I will complete it by the last verse of Sri Padukasahasram. Jayati yati raja sukti, jayati mukundasya paduka yugali, tadubaya dhanas trivedi, avandhyayanto jayanti bhuvi santaha. Kavitarkika simhaya kalyana gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha. So I think you have, if somebody has raised his hand, you are allowed to ask questions, doubts, clarifications, add, supplement, and so on. So if your doubts linger further, you can email Vyoma Linguistics Lab Foundation, and in turn, the panelists, the helpers, the friends there will in turn pass on your emails. So, thank you very much. Dhanyavada. So yes, Radhika Lakshmi Narayan, so you are allowed to talk.
Hari Om. Namaskara, Padaya.
Hari Om. Namaskara.
I believe Swakiye means one's own,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So here Swakiye Stotre Niyoje Simam, does that refer to the composer saying my own stotra, or since he is addressing the Paduka, does it refer to the Paduka, your own stotra, or can we take it as both?
The last line is your answer. From your own mouth. Take it as both. So as Vedantadeshika, he wants to own the poem. So, and again, as he addresses, as you said perfectly, because the divine sandals are addressed. So the divine sandals are giving the encouragement to Vedantadeshika to write the stotra of its own. Right?
Okay, so here's a chamatkara, poetic chamatkara.
This is the beauty in the skill of Vedantadeshika.
Okay. Dhanyavadaha.
So the next one, I see only the number 91986. You can talk now.
Radhe Krishna.
Radhe Krishna.
Namaskaram.
Namaskara.
You have told that this Padukasahasram was written over a single night. Can you explain the situation, story behind this? How it was written within one night? What is the situation? Something like that.
I think you have not attended the previous sessions, and therefore you are asking this question.
Have attended.
Right.
Somewhere I have missed.
So now, okay. So this was a challenge posed to him by Azhagiya Manavala Peruval Nayanar among the scholars of Srirangam. And it is not called one night. Overnight he composed 1008 verses. It is as simple as Vedantadeshika started after his Anushtanam in the evening, Sayam Sandhya Vandanam. After finishing the diurnal duties, and he started writing the Padukasahasram, and he finished it within 1.5 hours. As you say, Triyama is the name for the night. So he just finished it within 1 yama. That is just 3 hours. Now that is also reduced to 1.5 hours. And 1.5 hours is what we call the calculation of the time called muhurta. So muhurta, as many of us know, that it is from 45 minutes to 1.5 hours. So when you fix a muhurtam for any auspicious function, so it is between 45 minutes and 1.30 hours. So here, so you find that within 1.5 hours he finished. And what is the proof? When you say, you must ask the acharyas, especially I will tell you the name who was living in our times called Seva Srinivasa Raghavacharya Swami, who was in Chennai. He was the president awardee in Sanskrit, and who wrote many works, more than 100 works. And he loved Vedantadeshika so much that he is now called Aparadeshika. He is another Deshika on earth. So here, so he got the title like this. And then he told me personally that, now how do you understand it is, 1.5 hours? Therefore, he gave some parallels. He said, Hanuman finished, I underline the word finished, the son of Ravana, Akshar by name, with 14,000 demons in the Ashokavana in Sri Lanka. And within 1.5 hours, Rama wiped out the 3 leaders of 14,000 demons, namely Kara, Dushana, and Tirishana. So Hanuman, in fact, being an acharya according to philosophy of the Jivatma, namely Sita, he wanted to imitate actually Guru. Yatra yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam tatra tatra
Samasta Kanchali.
Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam
Paripurna Lochanam
Maruti
Namada Rakshasanta.
Therefore, Hanuman considered Sri Rama as his Bhagavan. And even now, he is Chiranjeevi. He still lives now. And whenever Ramayana discourse goes on, he is there on a plank board, wooden board is kept before the Ramayana discourse given. And then he is said to come and he listened to. That's what. So meaning, we say during the oil bath by gents on Wednesdays and Saturdays, Ashwathama, Balirvyasaha, Hanumancha, Vibhishanaha, Kripaha, Parashuramascha, Saptaite, Chiranjeevinaha. These 7 people have been called the long living person, Chiranjeevi. That means no death for them. Immortality is a forte of these 7. Of course, the gods are also in there, Parashurama and so on. Ashwathama, Balir, Vyasaha. Vyasa is, of course, Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya, Vyasa Rupaya Vishnu. Namo Brahmanidhe Vasisthaya Namo. So we have these 7 people which we recite while we take the oil bath on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Yes.
And for the sake of ladies, we have Ahalya, Draupadi, Sita, Tara, Mandodari, Tatha. Ravana's wife is also included there. Panchaganyas Pare Nityam Mahapapa Vinashanam is the sloka which we say for ladies during oil bath on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Dhanyavadaha. Rangaprasadaha.
Idanim Janam. Bhavatam Swarena. Bhavatam identification is positive.
Radhe. Punar namaskara.
Yeah, only 5 digits of your phone is seen here.
Not phone number. It is giving one number. It is not allowing me to write any name in this. I don't know why.
Radhika madam is also from Srirangam. So she can talk in Sanskrit also very good. Thank you very much for asking questions. I think I have exceeded the time by myself, and you will. Okay. So anything else? So you please mail to Vyoma, and we will meet tomorrow. Shall we stop? So Namo Namaha. Dhanyavada.